fans, it's your boy Gsluke here for our DFS fades and sleepers for this week's PGA Championship. By far the most important video of the week. Here we'll be going over my top 3 sleeper picks, the guys I think are being a little bit overlooked this week, my diamonds in the rough per se, and my top 3 fades, the guys I expect to be a little bit overhyped this week that for one reason or another, I don't see them coming through for that ceiling performance that people expect. Either way, though, this is where we consider game theory and ownership, the side of DFS that is maybe the most perplexing for a lot of you out there, because it's not just the game of golf, right? We're not just projecting players. It's all about opportunity cost, trying to get leverage to the field, ensure that you're not duplicated with dozens of other players in these large field GPPs. A lot of the more nuanced stuff to talk about with golf DFS. So like I said, the most important video of the week, a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and start it off here with my top 3 fades of the week. Alrighty, I've got the projections up on the screen, and we're going to start this off with our first fade, and that's Viktor Hovland at $9,900. Viktor Hovland, I've been very public about this, very adamant about this for quite some time, struggles at major championships, and it's relatively straightforward. You're talking about one of, if not the worst around the green players that you're going to see on tour, and pretty much no matter which venue we go to for a major championship, you're going to have to be able to get up and down to compete. A lot of that is a byproduct of these venues. They tend to feature some smaller greens, at least for the most part, but all of them tend to be on the more difficult side. In Viktor Hovland, if you put him at a birdie fest, a score, winning score in the range of 15 to 20 under par, I'll take him all day. In fact, he's one of my favorite plays at pretty much any course but these difficult major championships. The fact of the matter is, though, until he figures out how to get the ball up and down on regular, he's going to struggle, because even the best ball strikers, even if you get that putter working nuclear hot at these type of venues, you will be in bad situations. I guarantee you, particularly at a golf course with greens as devilish as what we have here at Southern Hills. And of course, with chipping off areas, it's all shaved down. So you're going to see 30 to 40 yard around the green shots pretty much all week. That is what he particularly struggles with. In fact, you see him blade the ball a whole lot in those type of situations. So in terms of the skill set fit, this is probably the antithesis of a course that we'd be trying to play him on. The exact opposite of a perfect skill set fit. From a recent form perspective, there's not all that much to complain about other than the fact that we haven't seen him play all that often. He did play at the team event where they finished in 29th place, that being him and Colin Morikawa. The Masters, he finished 27th. It was an 18th at the match play, so wasn't able to get out of group play there. And a 33rd at the Valspar. So even when we've seen him of late, it hasn't been anything impressive, and the shots gain metrics back that up. You can see he's still gaining a significant amount of strokes with the ball striking. That is always going to be the case with Viktor. In fact, I really can't think of a stretch of golf where he's ever even gotten close to a neutral off the tee or on approach. That's how consistent he is. But the putter hasn't been there, right? He's losing around the green. That is always going to be a problem for Viktor. But if you take a look at the last 50 measured rounds, you see the putter is still positive, right? It's something that he does. He goes out there and pops with the putter. When he combines the ball striking and the putting at an easy golf course, he's almost unbeatable. But this week, it is much more than just a ball striking and putting type of golf course. With the winds that we expect, with these small targets, extremely fast and firm targets at that as well, you're going to be looking at getting up and down probably 7-8 times per round at the very least. I mean, you're going to be getting up and down a lot more than other golf courses, or at least hope to, right? If you're not, you're going to be shooting something there in the mid-70s, perhaps even the 80s. So at 12.1% ownership, it's not like he's super chalky. You're talking about somebody who's relatively average, I would say, in terms of his exposure there, but still somebody that I'm trying to stay far clear from until we start to see market improvements with his short game. Next up, we have Dustin Johnson at $9,500. Now, last week, I took a chance on him the week before a major. He's had plenty of success in the past. And while he didn't miss the cut or anything, right, he still had, I'd say, an above average week. Not quite what we were hoping for when guys like a Jordan Spieth obviously went off last week, guys like a Justin Thomas as well. But at the same time, I mean, the form was there. So I expect people to play him in bunches. Right now, I have him at 11.8% owned. That might actually be a little bit low come game time here on Thursday, but in either circumstance, similar to a Viktor Hovland, I have my worries about his short game. If you take a look at the last 24 measured rounds, they have not been particularly sharp for DJ. He's gaining off the tee and on approach like you'd expect, but around the green and with the putter, he's a slight negative around the green, just a hardly positive with the putter, which is a huge difference from what we saw in the fall swing. I mean, the guy was gaining close to 2/3 of a stroke per round with the flat stick. You can see the putting returns. If you take a look at the last 50 measured rounds, like I was talking about, he was putting the absolute lights out. So to see that abandon him certainly is a little bit concerning there, but even more concerning is around the green, right? From a longer term sample size, he is a loser to the field. And much like a Viktor Hovland, now he's not as big of a loser as a Viktor Hovland around the green, but at the same time, his off the tee play and approach play is nowhere near as consistent as what we've seen from Big Dick Vic over the last few months. So I certainly don't like that trend with the DJ, the fact that he's been a little bit inconsistent with that ball striking over the last 2 to 3 months, but it's more the short game, like both of these players, that's really holding him back. Another thing to note is that Viktor Hovland and Dustin Johnson will both be teeing off in the afternoon wave there on Thursday, which is by far the least advantageous of the two waves. On Thursday afternoon, we have slightly higher wind gusts than what we have there on Thursday morning, about 5 to 10 miles an hour more strength, like you'd expect for most AM versus PM splits. But on Friday, it's in the morning where you have the strong winds. In fact, close to 40, 50 miles an hour wind gusts. So the guys that have to tee off on Thursday afternoon that are already playing in the windier conditions that also get slammed by it on Friday morning are guys I'm trying to avoid, right? Unless I'm completely sold on their play. They've shown an ability to play in windy conditions in the past. Going to be guys I'm a little bit hesitant getting to. So I worry about a short game. I worry about the fact that both of these guys are playing in the afternoon wave. So we'll have to see how that pans out. And now lastly, the last fade I have is inexplicably 22.3% owned. No idea why Joaquin Niemann is being owned nearly as much as he is, particularly with the Sunday meltdown we saw. I mean, on Sunday, around the green was horrendous for Joaquin Niemann. You heard the announcer actually kind of, picking and jabbing at him a little bit. Like, oh, I don't care how good Joaquin Niemann's around the green stats are. I mean, you see him every time on Sunday, kind of choking, hitting a lot of really hairy shots when things matter. And we've seen that for quite some time. In fact, even at the Genesis, he started to fold a little bit over the weekend, right? He wasn't nearly as strong as what we saw there on Thursday and Friday when he absolutely boat raced the field, right? He came back a little bit, made it a little bit more interesting than I think people thought it was going to be. So Niemann, even though he gains to the field around the green, I think that announcer brought up a really good point. I think it was Craig Perks who ended up saying it, that sometimes these shots gain metrics really don't tell the whole story. I mean, especially with DJ, you can see he's right around a neutral around the green player, but in reality, he's much worse than that. I mean, you put the pressure on DJ, he can leak and hemorrhage strokes around the green from time to time. Usually he's relatively sharp, but you put the pressure on the guy, and we've seen him fold over the years. So I worry about that with Joaquin Niemann. I more importantly worry about the approach play, not the around the green, where he's losing to the field. He's, over his last 24 measured rounds, losing 6/100ths of a stroke per round. That is not what I'm looking for. In fact, of anybody in this range other than Bryson, who pretty much no one's going to play this week, and that's deservingly so, he's the only one losing to the field. That is a huge red flag for me. Even somebody like a Tyrrell Hatton, who's been spraying it all over the place, yet still kind of keeping the finishes there, is gaining to the field on approach. So I don't understand why he's 22% owned. It was probably the most straightforward fade I've made for at least 5 to 6 months. Now that's probably going to come back to bite me on the ass now that I've said that, but at the same time, it's the easiest fade I've ever made, at least from recent memories. $8,500, I think it's a fair price tag, but he should be owned made around maybe 9-10%, right? It's not a good course fit for him. The recent form's okay. I mean, of course, he still finished pretty well there last week, right? If you take a look at it at the end of the day, still ended up finishing in the top 25. He withdrew the week before that because of Mito. Wasn't Joaquin Niemann's fault, so don't look into that. But 12th, 35th, right? He's been posting okay results, but it's been nothing flashy, so I don't understand why he's being nearly as owned as he is here. So that's why he's the last fade, along with DJ and, of course, Viktor Hovland. And now let's hop over to the sleeper picks. And, of course, these guys, at least a little bit lower owned than I think they should be. You can see somebody like a Rory McIlroy still getting a fair amount of ownership there at 16.7%. But I would have expected that to be closer to 25-30%. I mean, based on the fact that he looked so good at the Wells Fargo, of course, second place finish at the Masters, I'd expect him to be one of, if not the highest owned plays on the slate. And that, to this point, has not been the case. Take a look at the shots gained metrics. you'll see exactly why I'm excited to get to him. He's gaining across all 4 categories. His only quote-unquote weak point would be the putter, where he's right around a neutral. But if we take a look at the last 50 measured rounds, there's certainly a lot of upside there, as he is gaining significantly to the field in every category over the larger term sample size. More importantly, though, gaining significantly in every category from tee to green, including around the green, which, like I said, is going to be unbelievably important this week. And I think Rory McIlroy kind of gets a knack for not being that good with his short game, but that's just not the case. I mean, the guy's been really solid around the green for quite some time. In fact, his entire career. I mean, even when he was a young lad there in his 20s, the guy was hitting some pretty spectacular recovery shots. So love him here at $10,000. I thought he was going to be chalky. I thought I was going to have to potentially avoid him because he was going to be chalk. And sometimes we get surprised, right? People want to play a ton of JT, which I get it. He's a likable character. He's my second favorite player in the world. I'll probably still have some JT. But people would still want to play Scottie Scheffler, the shiny new toy on the block. People are thinking about John Rahm after his win. People are thinking even about a Viktor Hovland, who, of course, was so impressive there in the winter season. So it's just, there's so many options up top that it's really hard to choose between them all, which is lowering the ownership on guys like a Colin Morikawa and then, Rory McIlroy, like we're talking about right now, to levels that are just lower than they should be. Players that were able to get pretty easy leverage on. So I like him here at $10,000. The recent form, like I said, you're not going to find better, right? 5th, you got the 2nd place finish. Sure, he missed the cut at the Valero Texas Open, but before that, it was just constant top 10, top 25 finish. He had the win there in the fall swing, a few other top 5 finishes internationally. It looks like Rory McIlroy is back to playing his brand of golf, which is a scary thing for the rest of the field. Next up, we have Will Zalatoris, who's another player I expected to be much more popular than at least I have him projected for right now. This is on a Tuesday, so things can change. But at $8,900, I have my just 11.9% projected ownership. And of course, people kind of have a love affair with him at major championships ever since he burst onto the scene, first off at the US Open, and then secondly at the Masters. People have kind of attributed him to be a big game hunter, and I think there's something to be had there. His ball striking is going to be valuable at these difficult tracks, but even more importantly, he's got the creativity necessary. Now, you may ask me, what does being creative have to do with being a golfer? But when you have greens as firm and fast as what we're going to have here at Southern Hills, also running perhaps at a 12.5, 13 on the stimp meter, there is a whole lot of creativity needed to figure out those breaks. And at Augusta National, that's probably the best example of that type of golf course, or at least maybe the most well-known example of that type of golf course, where you'll see guys literally lining up 90 degrees away from their target, or even facing away from their target, trying to make putts. You're going to see that same type of thing this week, and really what's propelled Zalatoris to success at both of those events, both years at the Masters this year, and of course his first year where he finished in 2nd place, was the putting. He gained strokes to the field unofficially, right? They're not official shots gained metrics, but from what we have there, the metrics that we are able to take advantage of, he gained to the field and gained significantly. In fact, his first trip there gained nearly 7 strokes putting to the field. So he clearly figures it out at these, creative type of green golf courses, firm and fast type of golf courses. And if he does that this week, based on his ball striking pedigree, this is the type of course that he can win his first major at. So I like him there at $8,900. I expected him to be extremely popular, but perhaps after last week's subpar performance at the Byron Nelson, people are a little bit hesitant to get to him. And now lastly, we have Tyrrell Hatton down here at $5,600. That's not $5,600, $8,100, 5.6% ownership. It's getting a little bit ahead of myself there, but in either circumstance, this is a difficult golf course, and it seems counterintuitive, but Tyrrell Hatton loves himself a difficult golf course. He's already mad, even at Birdie Fest. You saw it last week, a few weeks here at the Zurich Classic. He was getting mad at a Birdie Fest, a team event, really, that doesn't mean all that much. Tyrrell Hatton is the biggest competitor out there, but when everybody's being frustrated pretty much as he is for a normal tour event, I think there's something to be had there because he has the win at the API. That was another single-digit winner in terms of a winning score. You take a look at the recent form, while it hasn't been anything flashy, it's been good enough, right? 37th at the Wells Fargo. That was a decent finish for him, right? It's nothing flashy, but at least he made the cut. The Zurich, when I was talking about him being mad at a Birdie Fest, finished 21st, still made it through the cut there. Okay, 26th at the RBC, 52nd at the Masters, 9th at the match play, 21st at the Valspar. He had a top 5 over there at the API. He's kind of just been sneaking himself along. And you may ask, why hasn't he had these top end finishes? He's obviously playing pretty solid golf. Well, here's the answer for you, right? So what's really been holding Tyrrell Hatton back has been the ball striking. Around the green and the putter, it's been, slight positive in both categories. Kind of what you'd expect from Tyrrell Hatton. The issue has been the approach play. He's not been very sharp on approach. And I know it's asking a lot for him to turn it around, but if he does, this is the prime Tyrrell Hatton golf course. Like I said, he likes these grinded out type of golf courses where par's a solid score. Because if you need somebody to grind it out, getting up and down all day, this is your guy. I mean, unbelievable short game. And when people talk about the best short game on the PGA Tour, people need to start mentioning Tyrrell Hatton, because some of the shots that he has in his arsenal, other people just don't have that shot. I can guarantee you that. I mean, his low skipper game, where he's able to get that one hop stop type of shot, is unbelievable. He can almost measure out the bounce off of that better than anyone that I've ever seen, at least. I mean, he's sticking balls to 1 foot on that one skip stop type of shot all the time. And at this golf course where we have those shaved down surfaces, where you're going to have those 30 to 40 yard around the green shots where you have to deliver the ball with speed, that's the exact shot you're going to have to hit a crap ton out there, right? Unless you're hitting the super flop, which maybe Patrick Reed and Jordan Spieth will get away with, but more often than not, you're not going to hit the ball to 5 to 10 feet with that. So he has the most consistent around the green shot that we're looking for here. Like I said, he seems to relish the opportunity in these difficult conditions, and he's been getting by with these made cuts, right? It's been nothing flashy out there, but he's still been getting the job done. So if you're playing in cash, maybe in these 2 to 3 max tournaments, I like him even more. But in these large field GBPs where he's just going to be in that single digit range, again, just 5.6% projected owned, certainly somebody you can get some pretty easy leverage to. That's all I've got for the fades and sleepers. Before you hop on out of here, go ahead and let me know in the comments who you're fading this week, and of course, who your biggest sleeper picks are. We will have our DFS live stream going on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Bring any of your live questions there. We'll be talking the weather, my player poll, projections, ownership, all that sort of fun stuff. So again, make sure to leave a reminder for that. A link will be in the description of this video to that live stream. And also, we'll have a betting stream tonight. Now, by the time you're watching this, it probably already happened, but that will be at 7 p.m. Eastern time here on Tuesday night. If you're watching this early, right after the video drops, maybe you can go ahead and catch that in time. But there we'll be talking about my favorite outrights, first round leader bets, some matchups, all that sort of fun stuff. So I'll also make sure to go ahead and leave a link down below to that. If you haven't already left a like on the video, haven't already smashed the like button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of that content to come. And best of luck here with your lineups for this week.